Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. This morning, we complete 68 weeks together. That's around 120 hours together. If you compare this would be like watching all of the Marvel movies, correct? That would be like 120 hours. This would be like engaging in multiple university courses. But the difference, this not being a movie, this not being an objective science, we are engaged in this time together actively. We see each other, we hear each other, we write to each other, we smile at each other. When you smile at a screen, what happens? Disney smiles back because you're funding them with billions of dollars. The universities are not different. Chapter 2, fear. Sorry, chapter 1, fear. Chapter 2, fearless. How does one grow out of fear and grow into fearlessness? Dedication. The theme, the teaching of chapter 3 is dedication. The present train of thought that we're flowing through began in verse 31. Shri Krishna teaches us to have faith in his guidance so that we are dedicated in all that we do. In verse 32, he shares what will happen to those who do not have faith. They will always be stuck in their inner world, in their outer world. Verse 33, Shri Krishna acknowledges that this is difficult. To live in a dedicated way is difficult because we're so used to intellectual understanding, which means superficial understanding, which means we don't have the faith to integrate these teachings into our lifestyle. Verse 34, he zooms in on what is stealing us from us, what is stealing our faith. It is likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes keep us comfortable. And if I'm comfortable, I will not change. Yes? Think about January for those who live in a cold part of the world. How comfortable your bed is in the morning. Do you want to change? We're trying to find ways to stay in that bed longer and longer and longer. Maybe meaningful morning should be at 9 p.m., not 7:45. Sorry, 9 a.m., not 7:45 a.m. And that's why Acharya Shankara has described likes and dislikes as rakshasas. A rakshasa in English means a demon. But the philosophical import of this word is lovely. It is that which we need raksha from. Now tell me in the chat, what does raksha mean? Raksha means protection, exactly. What do we need protection from? Our own likes and dislikes. They keep us comfortable, which really means we do not make use of the opportunity that is being offered to us. That is clear in verse 35, where Shri Krishna shares, our vasanas have a specific outlet, and that is our dharma. And if I block that dharma for whatever reason, then those vasanas or blueprints will not become lighter, will not be exhausted. This is God's plan. Your dharma is based on your vasana. This is God's plan. All we're used to in terms of God's plan is Drake's song, God's Plan. We're used to hearing that in different places. This is God's plan. And just recently, in verse 36, Prince Arjuna asks, how come I don't follow my dharma? Because he's not right now. He is supposed to be engaging in this particular responsibility. So he asks Sri Krishna, how come I'm not following my dharma? And he shares this very openly. It's almost like the signal from his intellect to his mind to his body breaks up. And if that signal breaks, then the body doesn't move. It's no different than Wi-Fi, correct? If your signal keeps breaking or mine does, what did I say? Some of you think, I can't hear anything right now. And Madhusudana Saraswati has shared an example. We, even though we try to direct ourselves, are forced in another direction, like a servant that is ordered by a master. Many times we feel like that I should be directed there, but it's like I'm being controlled to go over here, to think like this, to do like that. We have the wrong king in our personality. Now, this is the point where none of us are smiling. This is so rough. But Shri Krishna is the great optimist, and he shares with us in more detail about why we feel forced and what we're supposed to do about that. We are on verse 37. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Eshaha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Iha Vairinam. Shri Krishna teaches. Why is Vivek forced into wrong actions, wrong attitude, wrong Atma, wrong Ananda? It is because of Kama. Eshaha Kama. And that may be subtle for us, so Shri Krishna makes this more gross. Wherever there's Kama, Eshaha Krodha. There is anger. Desire and anger control us. We're trying to direct ourselves, but we're controlled by desire and anger. Desire, in an authentic and deep way, is you trying to complete yourself without you. The only source of completion is you. You means your nature. A desire is me trying to complete myself without me. And the more that desire is far from me, the more angry I become. The more that desire is close to me, the less angry I become. Like, if I have a desire for a fancy car, that is very different than my nature. So there's a fine chance I'm not going to get that. In my personal case, I'm definitely not going to get that. So anger. But if I have a desire to help people, see how that's closer to my nature, which is infinite or oneness? So there's less anger then. This verse relates to the ladder of fall from chapter 2. Chapter 2, verses 61 and 62, Sri Krishna shared how desire leads to destruction. The same is being shared in this verse. If you study Bhagavad Gita in a comparative sense, chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, chapter 3, Karma Yoga. But the way we're studying this, there's only Bhagavad Gita without chapters, right? So why is Sri Krishna teaching this again? You tell me. Have you done away with anger? Are you desireless? He knows us. And that's why when we studied verses 61 and 62 in chapter 2, I emphasize the need for focus. Desires are encouraged by those who are distracted. The more I look around, the more I want. The less I look around, there's less to want. Okay, this anger comes from desire. Where does this desire come from? Samudbhava. It is born out of Rajoguna. Guna means quality or characteristic of Rajas. Tamas, to give you a fuller reference, tamas is a self-destructive way to think and act. Tamas. Rajas is a selfish way to think and act. So why does Vivek have desires and anger? It is because of selfishness. That's why the fancy car, in this example, selfish. Helping others, it is less selfish, no? It's closer to sattva, which is selflessness. Do you remember the verse that I highlighted in chapter 2 about selflessness or sattva? Verse 45. Chapter 2, verse 45. Shri Krishna tells Prince Arjuna, Nitya sattva staha. Every aspect of who you are and what you do has to be established in selflessness, or else this will happen. One practical way to let go of selfishness and hold on to selflessness is the 5 earlies. Sleep early, wake early, study early, walk early, sink early. Being late is a sign of rajas. Not doing it at all is a sign of tamas. Being early is a sign of sattva. Be early when it comes to selflessness. What does desire and anger do to us specifically? Mahashanaha. It consumes us. Mahapapma. It projects us. Mahashanaha, when we have a desire, all we think about and speak about and act about is that desire. We're consumed by it. Just think of it when you're hungry. All you think about is food, correct? And since, as I've shared, a desire is me trying to be happy without me, Mahapapma, it projects me away from who I am. From the independent source of joy to a dependent source of joy. Put simply, this is extroversion. From rajas or selfishness comes desire and anger. Desire and anger are extroversion. An extrovert never knows when is enough. Yes, the one who doesn't know when is enough, they are anala, which means fire. Their inner world is on fire, and they project that fire onto their outer world then too. An extrovert. And just introducing the last quarter, Vidyena iha, Vidyenam iha vairinam. Know this to be your enemy. Who does Prince Arjuna think his enemy is? Duryodhana. Who is Shri Krishna reorienting him to? His enemy is not Duryodhana, but desire. From inspiration to application. Your application recently was to reflect on your conscience. That tends to be quite poetic for us, like a children's moral story. Our conscience is our intellect. Our intellect is the seat of virtues and vices. Why don't we follow our conscience? Because the mind is louder than the intellect. Which is why I keep sharing that jnana or knowledge quietens the mind. It's not even that the intellect has to become louder. All of us know what vices and virtues are, but we can't hear it because the mind is interpreting. It's too noisy. Your application for this morning, I want you to count how many desires you have today. Make sure you have a sheet of paper with you and just start checking it off. And if you can, if you're reflective enough, write in one word what it is that you're desiring. So it could be food, tacos, then a like on Instagram, so count and describe it in one word. Shanti, shanti, shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.